The world would awaken to shocking headlines. Russian forces capture Pokrovsk, a city once known for its resilience and vital supply lines, would now stand as a powerful symbol of a shifting front in the war. The capture of Pokrovsk wouldn't just mark another territorial gain. It would send shockwaves through Ukraine's defensive strategy and Europe's geopolitical landscape. Strategically located in the Donetsk region, Pokrovsk has long been a logistical lifeline for Ukrainian troops, serving as a gateway between the embattled east and the more stable western regions. Losing it would mean losing a key hub for troop movements, supplies, and humanitarian aid. For Russia, this victory would be more than symbolic, and it would cement their control over a large portion of Donbas and give them a stronger position for future offensives. Analysts would likely describe it as one of the most significant territorial shifts since the fall of Bakhmut. With Pokrovsk under Russian control, Moscow could tighten its grip on regional infrastructure, potentially threatening Ukrainian positions further west, including cities like Dnipro. Internationally, the capture would fuel intense debate within NATO and the EU. Questions about renewed Western support, potential sanctions, and the risk of escalation would dominate headlines. The US and its allies would face growing pressure to aid while balancing the risk of direct confrontation with Moscow. Inside Ukraine, morale would take a painful hit. Soldiers on the front lines would face logistical nightmares as supply chains are cut or rerouted through more dangerous terrain. For civilians, Pokrovsk's fall would mean more displacement, destroyed homes, and uncertainty. Thousands of families would flee, turning once bustling neighborhoods into silent ruins. Yet amid the despair, Ukrainian resilience would not vanish, and the local defenders and partisan groups could begin underground resistance, making occupation costly for Russian forces. As the world reacts, the propaganda war would intensify. Russian media would hail the capture of Pokrovsk as a turning point, showcasing it as proof of their military's growing dominance. Ukrainian leaders, on the other hand, would call for unity, framing it as a temporary setback in a long and painful struggle for sovereignty. International observers would warn of further humanitarian crises as the front lines inch closer to major population centers. Meanwhile, satellite imagery and open-source analysts would document heavy destruction across the region, factories, schools, and hospitals lying in ruins. Reminders of a war with no clear end. Strategically, the capture of Pokrovsk could open the door for deeper Russian advances into central Ukraine. This would force Kyiv to redistribute its already stretched forces, potentially weakening defenses in other sectors. Western intelligence agencies might interpret the move as part of a larger plan to divide Ukraine into isolated zones, cutting off the east from reinforcements. Economically, Ukraine would face mounting challenges. Key railway lines and transport routes running through Pokrovsk are vital for energy, trade, and aid delivery. Their loss would strain the nation's economy even further, putting more pressure on the government to seek international loans and emergency support. In Moscow, the Kremlin would likely use the event to rally domestic support, framing it as proof that Western weapons cannot stop Russia's advance. However, beneath the surface, even Russian analysts would know that holding Pokrovsk could prove far harder than capturing it. Guerrilla attacks, sabotage, and growing global isolation could turn victory into a long-term burden. For the rest of the world, the capture of Pokrovsk would mark a dangerous escalation and one step closer to a broader, unpredictable confrontation between Russia and the West.